She ran from the altar and straight into a war. He gave her 72 hours of freedom before hunting her down, because in his world, vows aren't broken, they're carved in blood. Welcome to the Bratva's Runaway Bride. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.
Chapter 1. Christoph. I had never seen a bride look more like a prisoner, and I'd put plenty of people in cages. Khadija stood beside me at the altar, chin high but eyes fixed straight ahead, her knuckles white around the bouquet. Every petal looked like it wanted to wilt under her grip. The candlelight caught the pale shimmer of her veil, and beneath it, her lips pressed together in a way that said she'd rather chew glass than speak the words about to be forced from her mouth. My bride. My problem. My possession. The chapel smelled faintly of incense and iron, the latter courtesy of the 4 armed men stationed along the walls. Petrov guards in dark suits, silent as shadows. This wasn't the kind of wedding where guests smiled and threw rice. This was a sealing of power, a business agreement between 2 families, the kind of arrangement that kept borders in check and enemies cautious. I'd agreed to it because it made sense. I was heir to the Petrov Bratva. Marriage to Khadija sealed an alliance with her father's organization, and with it came resources, influence, and control of a critical port route. It was supposed to be simple, but as I watched her try to keep her breathing even, something sharp and electric slid through my chest. The priest's voice droned, reciting vows neither of us had written, his tone as lifeless as the dead men buried beneath the church. I barely heard him. My focus was entirely on her, on the way her pulse beat wildly at her throat, on the stubborn line of her jaw, on the fact that she refused to look at me. She hated this. Hated me. Good. Love was a currency for fools. Hate, on the other hand, I could work with. Hate kept people alert, kept them sharp, kept them tethered to you because they couldn't stop thinking about you. I leaned slightly toward her, my voice low enough that only she could hear. Smile, Princessa. Everyone's watching. Her shoulders stiffened, but she didn't turn her head. A faint tremor passed through her, though, and I caught it. Felt it. Wanted more of it. The priest paused, waiting for my response. I do, I said without hesitation. The words were smooth, deliberate. I wasn't the one being forced into anything. When it was her turn, the silence stretched just a fraction too long. I felt the entire room tense. The guards shifted their weight, fingers twitching near weapons. Then finally, I do, clipped cold, and without a single drop of warmth. The kiss was obligatory. I didn't rush it. I didn't let it linger either. Just enough to feel the heat of her lips and the way she fought to keep from recoiling. She tasted like defiance. It was intoxicating. We walked down the aisle together, a perfect picture for the photographers. Half of them Bratva men, the rest family who knew better than to smile too widely. Outside, the night air was sharp, the sky heavy with clouds. Limousines waited at the curb, engines idling like growling beasts. I helped her into the car, my palm firm against the small of her back. She sat as far from me as the seat allowed, her gaze fixed on the window. You're going to make this harder than it needs to be, I said, settling back. She didn't answer. Fine. I like a challenge. The driver pulled away from the church, heading toward the reception at one of my clubs. The streets of Moscow blurred by, cold, wet, dangerous. I kept watching her reflection in the glass. She was beautiful, yes, but it was more than that. There was a ferocity under all that fear, and I wanted to strip her down until I found the core of it. You think you're in control, she said suddenly, her voice quiet but sharp. You're not. That earned her my first real smile of the night. I'm always in control, Khadija, even when you think I'm not. The reception was a blur of champagne, toasts, and the low hum of tension. Every man in the room knew I'd just married a woman who would rather be anywhere else. Every woman looked at her with either envy or pity. I barely let her leave my side. When it was over, I took her back to my penthouse. The elevator ride was silent except for the steady thrum of the machinery. She stood in front of me, stiff-backed, her perfume a soft floral that clashed with the hard steel in her eyes. The doors slid open to a space of glass, leather, and dim lighting. Moscow's skyline glittered through the floor-to-ceiling windows. I watched her take it in, her lips parting just slightly before she caught herself and looked away. I stepped close, so close she had to tilt her head back to keep looking anywhere but at me. This is home now, I said. For how long? She asked, voice flat. I didn't answer immediately. I wanted her to feel the weight of it, to know the rules before she tried breaking them. Until death parts us, I said finally. And if you try to speed that along, Princessa. I'll make sure it's yours first. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't flinch. Good. I preferred my women with teeth. I reached out, fingers brushing her chin, forcing her to meet my eyes. Go to bed. We start this marriage tomorrow on my terms. Her eyes flared with something, fear, maybe anger, but she turned and walked toward the master suite without another word. I watched her go, knowing she was already plotting, and knowing I would be ready. I'd dealt with runaways before. None had been my wife. None had been Khadija.
Chapter 2? Khadija, if I don't move now, I'll never move again. If I breathe too loudly, he'll hear it through the walls. The penthouse is too quiet. Predator. The city sprawls below like a galaxy of cold stars, and somewhere in the glass reflection I see a ghost bride staring back at me with borrowed diamonds and a spine made of ice. My veil lies folded on the end of the bed like a surrendered flag. My shoes are off. My heartbeat is not. I sit on the edge of the mattress to steady my hands and count backward from 10. On 8, a memory cuts through. My father's face, jaw hard as granite as he signed the marriage contract. You'll be safe, he'd said. Safe like meat locked in a freezer. No. Tonight is the only window, before Christoph decides tomorrow has begun and his terms with it. I stand and slide my fingers beneath the clasp of the choker they gifted me for the wedding. Platinum, diamonds, too heavy for my neck. It clicks once, twice, but doesn't open. Of course not. My skin prickles. I hold my breath and run nails along the underside until something snags, a grain of metal, a hair's breadth seam. A tiny hidden tooth, a tracker. Bratva husbands don't give jewelry, they issue leashes. I walk, slow, deliberate, into the bathroom. The marble gleams under soft light. I twist the shower handle, let the water hiss, steam blooming to fog the glass. I hang the necklace on the towel hook, right where a body's heat would be, and wedge a hair tie around the clasp so the metal won't clink. Let whoever is watching believe I'm taking the longest shower of my life. On the counter, a ridiculous bouquet, white peonies and lilies, waits in a crystal vase. Perfect. I thread 2 bobby pins from my hair into the keyhole of the linen closet's lock. I've been picking locks since I was 13, and my father started locking the liquor cabinet and his gun safe, one for courage, one for options. The tumblers are expensive, mean. They don't care about my future. They care about angles and pressure. Music only my fingers can hear. Click, click. The door gives. Inside, a stack of towels, extra linens, a tidy roll of duct tape, and, a miracle, an unopened set of industrial-strength kitchen shears for the housekeepers. I take them, slide them into the bodice of my dress, and press my palm to my stomach to hide the outline. Christoph's voice haunts the hallway from earlier. Go to bed. We start this marriage tomorrow on my terms. My mouth goes dry. I don't imagine he said it just to be cruel. He said it because he meant it. Men like him aren't careless with promises or threats. I turn off the shower, let the last drops tick through the pipes like a countdown, and knot my hair into a low bun. I strip out of the gown, white silk, 1,000 tiny buttons like teeth along my spine, and stand in my underwear, goosebumps rising over my skin. The dress is beautiful and suffocating. I look at it the way you look at a body you're about to bury. I grip the hem, bring the shears to the seam, and start cutting. It feels like ripping paper in a library. Soft, wrong, necessary. When I'm done, I've created a plain white sheath, a knee-length slip with a rough, frayed edge that won't trip me. The extra silk becomes a scarf and a bundle. I wrap the diamonds, earrings, bracelet, a ring I didn't ask for, into the fabric and knot it into a pocket-sized puff. Insurance. I replace the gown on its hanger and stuff the train into the hamper, so from the door's view, it still looks like a dress sleeping. The veil goes back on the bed. The room looks almost the same. If you don't look closely, if you're not married to me. The exit isn't the front door. There will be cameras, guards, glass that whispers if you breathe on it wrong. The exit is 6 inches of steel. The service hatch to the laundry chute. I ease open the hallway closet closest to the kitchen and find the hatch at knee height. My pulse thunders. Going down a chute in a high-rise is a great way to break your neck. It's also a great way to not be a Petrov bride tomorrow morning. I open the hatch and feel air slide past my face, warmer than the hallway. I loop the scarf of silk over my shoulders crossbody, tuck the diamonds against my ribs, and bite my lip hard enough to taste metal. Just go, I whisper to myself, because no one else will. The first drop is a breathless swallow. Then the chute slants, and I slide. The city becomes noise, the rush of nothing, the grating of seams, the whisper of fabric against steel. I catch my elbow, gasp, tuck myself tighter, and try not to think of the stories where girls like me get stuck between floors and marry the darkness instead. Light blooms below. The chute opens into a linen cart on a half-lit service level, and I land in a cushion of towels with a muffled thump that knocks my teeth together. I clamp my jaw, counting the beats of silence that follow. No alarms. No shouts. The only sound is a distant hum of an industrial washer and my lungs arguing with my nerves. I climb out, rearrange the top few towels to hide the crater I made, and pad down the service corridor in bare feet. My toes ache. My legs buzz with adrenaline. It smells like bleach and oiled hinges and lemon. So normal for a place that feeds the apartment above it like a vein. At the end of the corridor, a steel door, an exit sign, and a camera set at a lazy angle. I dip my head, bend my posture, and push through with my shoulder. The stairwell beyond is concrete and vertigo. I take the stairs 1 flight, 2, 3, then stop. If Christoph is watching the cameras, and of course he is, my shadow will be moving too predictably. I peel open a door onto the garage level instead. The garage is dim, echoing, and expensive. Rows of black cars like sleeping animals. In the far corner, a security booth with a glass window and a bored man flipping through a newspaper. The clock behind him says 12:14 a.m. If I still had my wedding shoes, their heels would betray me. Good thing I left them like teeth, marks in the penthouse carpet. I cross in the spaces between cameras, the ones you can guess by where the red lights are not, and tuck myself next to a pillar when a cleaning crew hums by with a floor buffer. The scarf presses into my ribs. The diamonds are a cold, reassuring weight. I just need one car. One door left unlocked. One miracle. The miracle is a matte gray hatchback parked half crooked in a compact spot, a parking pass dangling from the mirror, a bead rosary looped around it like an apology. I try the handle, unlocked. Thank you, Saint Whoever, I murmur, sliding in. There's a fast food bag in the footwell and a map in the glove box. No keys in the ignition, of course, but there's a key fob in the cup holder. Not smart, but I kiss the air anyway. The engine purrs like a cat that knows exactly how dangerous it is. I keep the lights off and roll to the exit, slowing when I reach the security booth. The guard looks up, bored, and waves me through with a flick of 2 fingers. I'm already a ghost to him. He doesn't see brides, just cars and passes, and whether he can take his break now or later. The city swallows me. I don't breathe for 3 blocks. When I finally do, the air tastes like frost and gasoline, and a kind of freedom that makes my mouth tremble. I keep to side streets for 10 minutes, then head north across the river, then east, using traffic like a shield. I drive like a woman who drives every night. I signal, I obey, I disappear. There's a stash waiting. I said it months ago, before the engagement, before I do, on a day when cold certainty settled in my spine. Girls like me don't get choices, they get plans. The safe deposit box sits in a bank that smiles at men like Christoph and tolerates daughters like me. The front door's closed, of course, but there's a 24-hour ATM alcove with a back wall that hides the security office door. The guard is on the phone talking to his girlfriend about a stray cat. I wait, counting ceiling tiles until he laughs and lifts his feet onto the desk. Then I slip around, slide the master key card I bought under a wrong name, and pop the office door. The lock clicks as if it knows me. Inside, a wall of gray boxes. My key opens box 618. Inside, a passport in the name of Mira Levitskaya, a prepaid phone still in its wrapper, a bundle of euros and dollars wrapped with a rubber band, and a faded Metro card. There is also a photograph of a beach that is not in Russia. Sun too bright, water too blue. I don't remember putting that there. Maybe I did. Maybe I needed proof that somewhere the horizon wasn't made of glass and concrete. I tuck the passport into the lining I ripped open in my slip, slide the phone into my bra, and pocket the cash. When I turn, the motion sensor coughs the lights brighter. My heart stops and starts again. It's only the building clearing its throat. I shut the box, lock it, and step back into the night, like a woman who still belongs to herself. By the time I reach the bridge out of the city, my hair is damp with sweat. Headlights smear into white streaks on the wet road. The sky holds its breath the way I learned to. There's a toll booth up ahead. I pick the lane with a bored teenager, and a sticker that says metalheads do it louder. I hand him 100 and look somewhere over his shoulder so he focuses on my money and not my face. He gives me change, coins clinking into my palm, and I remember Christoph's hands, how casually he placed them on my back as if my spine were a handle. No, I press the accelerator. The hatchback hums. How far do I have to go to be untouchable? Across the border, across an ocean? If I can make it 48 hours, maybe I can make it forever. Maybe. My burner phone vibrates against my skin like a warning. I nearly swerve. No one has this number. No one. I bought it 6 months ago and never turned it on. I pull onto the shoulder between two sleeping trucks and kill the headlights. The world narrows to the glow of the screen, leaking through lace. Unknown number. I shouldn't answer. I answer. Hello. Silence. Then a breath. Then a voice I feel along the back of my neck like the slide of a blade. 48 hours ago, you were my fiancé. Christoph's tone is cold water and coal fire. Tonight, you were my wife. Right now, you're a thief. My mouth goes dry. You put a tracker in my choker, I say, because it's better than admitting he's inside my bones. A soft sound that could be amusement, could be hunger. I put 3, he says. The second is in your bouquet ribbon. The third is in your shoe. My stomach drops. I left the shoes and the necklace. The ribbon. Damn. I wrapped it around my wrist earlier without thinking when a guard brushed too close, then took it off in the elevator. But he's not guessing. He's not taunting. He's telling me a story where the moral is I already planned the ending. Lose them all and it won't save you, he adds, lazy menace smoothing the words. I'm not chasing you, not yet. Why not? My voice barely holds. Because I said tomorrow, he says. You made a choice tonight. I'm giving you 72 hours to make a better one. I press the phone to my ear so hard it hurts. You think time will break me? Time doesn't break, he says. It sharpens. And when it's done, I'll cut with it. I'm not your possession. Katia, he says more gently than I'm prepared for, and that, more than the threat, makes terror fizz in my blood. You became mine the moment your father sold you. You'll become mine the moment you admit you chose me anyway. I will never choose you. You already did, he says, and the line clicks dead. I sit very still while every sound in the world rushes back into my head. The hiss of tires on wet asphalt a horn miles away, the slow thunder of my own pulse. He's not coming. Not yet. 72 hours. 90% of me wants to throw up from relief. The other 10 hates him more for refusing to chase me. It feels like contempt. Like a leash left dangling just out of sight. Fine. I'll use his arrogance like wind in my sails. I put the car in gear and pull off the shoulder, merging with an ocean of strangers. I drive until the city is a smear on the horizon and the night begins to thin at the edges. Every gas station is a risk. Every billboard feels like an eye. I stop in a coastal town so small it doesn't have a name on my map. Just a dot with a dock and a weathered motel where the neon sign flickers between Veka CY and Novie Ansi like it can't decide how honest to be. The clerk doesn't look up from his radio. I slide cash across the counter and ask for a room that doesn't exist. He gives me a key that does. I back the car in under a tree, cover it with a tarp from behind the maintenance shed, and carry nothing into the room except the scarf bundle and my new name. The room smells like salt and lemon cleaner and stories. I bolt the door, slide the chain, and set the chair under the handle because old habits don't hurt anyone except whoever opens my door without knocking. In the bathroom mirror, a woman stares back at me who is not a bride anymore, not a daughter, not a bargaining chip. She's a runner. Runners have rules. Don't call anyone you love. Don't drink anything you didn't open yourself. Don't sleep longer than 90 minutes at a time. When in doubt, cut away anything that drags. I unwrap the scarf and count the diamonds into the motel Bible because there's never anywhere no one looks and everywhere everyone looks. I tuck the bundle in the ventilation grate above the shower and replace the cover carefully. Then I sit on the edge of the bed and hold the prepaid phone like it's a grenade. I should turn it off. But the empty screen feels safer than silence. I set the timer for 90 minutes. 3 days, 3 dawns, 3 nights. I can do anything for 3 of something. Before I lie down, I take the shears to my hair. The bun falls. The blade whispers. Long dark sheets drift to the tile like someone else's winter. In the mirror, my face sharpens. I look at myself until my heartbeat slows and the girl in the glass lifts her chin. 72 hours, I whisper, and then you can try. Outside, a gull cries, a rusted hinge against a black sea. The wind picks up. Somewhere on some higher floor of some colder tower, Shufif is watching a clock, he said himself. Let him count. I plan. The timer blinks on 1:58. I close my eyes and slip into the kind of sleep that isn't rest, only war in a different room, knowing that when I wake, I'll have fewer choices, sharper teeth, and a man on the other end of a line who thinks he's the wolf.
Chapter 3 Christoph, I let her run. I'm letting her run. It's the most self-control I've exercised in years. Every instinct in me, every violent, possessive, blood-deep urge, wants to move now. Find her. Put my hands on her. Remind her what vows mean in my world. But hunting too early is like firing before you've aimed. You don't get the kill, you get chaos. And chaos is expensive. I stand in front of the wall of monitors in my private office, the city spilling in a dozen angles and time stamps. Petrov men move in the shadows, my shadows. A network designed to find what others lose. And yet, the dot on my screen that was Khadija an hour ago is gone. She figured out the tracker. Not all of them, but enough to tell me she's not stupid. I lean back in my chair, clasp my hands, and let the thought sit there, warm and dangerous. Intelligence in a woman is a weapon. In a wife, it's a risk and an aphrodisiac. Pavel, my second, steps in. He doesn't knock. He knows better than to interrupt unless he's ready to be useful. She's off the grid, he says, jaw tight. Your people in the bank district caught her on a street cam, but she's gone now. No electronic trail. I smile. Good. His brows lift slightly. Good. Yes, Pavel. I want her to think she's clever. I want her to think she can disappear. It makes the moment I take her back that much heavier. Pavel doesn't pretend to understand. He's loyal, not imaginative. She's got cash, he continues. Diamonds, too. The driver from the wedding says she didn't take any luggage, so she's light. Could be on the road. She is, I say. But she won't leave the country yet. Crossing a border means contact with people, and she'll avoid anyone who might talk. No, Khadija will hide in plain sight first. Somewhere small enough to feel safe, close enough to keep options open. I push up from my chair, walk to the window, and watch Moscow from 20 floors up. The city glitters like it's in on the game. My reflection stares back, tailored black suit, shirt open at the throat, eyes cold enough to freeze the glass. She has 72 hours. I say, almost to myself. And then I'm coming for her. Pavel shifts his weight. Why wait? I turn, and my voice drops, low and deliberate. Because I want her to run out of places to go. I want her to feel the clock before she hears it. I cross to the liquor cabinet, pour a glass of vodka, and sip slowly. The burn is clean, unhurried. She thinks this is about freedom, I go on. But it's about inevitability. By the time I touch her again, she'll understand that running from me is like trying to run from gravity. The phone on my desk buzzes once. A secure message, Doc 14 shipment cleared. Good. Business doesn't pause for personal matters, though in this case, the two are about to become the same thing. Khadija isn't just my wife. She's a link between families, a symbol of stability. Her absence is a crack in the facade, and cracks invite enemies. I turn to Pavel. Put 3 crews on standby. No one moves until I say. Keep eyes on transport hubs, secondary roads, and the coast. If she books a ticket under her name, I want it before the airline does. And if she doesn't, then I'll use the third tracker. He blinks. Third. I let the corner of my mouth curve. Yes, Pavel. Did you think I trusted a necklace and a ribbon? I paused just long enough for him to realize what I mean. The seamstress owed me a favor. There's a chip in the lining of her gown, stitched with metallic thread. Even if she took it off, there's a trace of fibers somewhere she slept. We'll find it. He exhales through his nose, the sound of a man both impressed and unnerved. Understood. I finish my vodka, set the glass down, and glance at the clock on the wall. Midnight ticks toward dawn. Somewhere out there, Khadija is counting the hours she thinks she has. I'm counting them too. In 72, she'll be back in my bed. Not because I forced her, but because she'll realize the truth. There's no such thing as gone when you belong to me. And when I take her back, it won't be with vows. It'll be with blood.
Chapter 4, Khadija. The ocean is louder than the traffic, and that alone makes me uneasy. In the city, noise is a shield. Footsteps, horns, music bleeding from bars. It hides you. Here, the coastal town is too still. Waves crash, gulls scream, but the streets between the sagging buildings are empty by nightfall, and every open space feels like a spotlight. I've been here less than 12 hours. Already my skin itches like someone's breathing on the back of my neck. The motel's walls are paper thin. The radiator hisses and pops as if it's telling secrets. I sit cross-legged on the bed in my cut-down slip dress, hair jagged from my bathroom shearing, counting the money from my stash. 1,400 euros. $800. Plus the diamonds hidden in the vent. Enough to get far if I don't waste a cent. Not enough if I start making mistakes. Christoph's voice from last night creeps in without invitation. 72 hours to make a better choice. He's not chasing me. Yet. That yet feels like a shadow clinging to my back. I pull on a pair of thrift store jeans and a faded sweatshirt I bought this morning from a shop 2 streets over. The tag said clearance, and the cashier didn't even look up from her crossword. That's what I need, to be forgettable. Not the girl in silk with diamonds. Not the runaway bride who might make someone rich if they call the right number. The prepaid phone stays off, battery removed. The passport in the name of Mira Levitskaya is tucked in the waistband of my jeans under my shirt. My hair is now a chin-length dark bob, uneven enough to pass for careless instead of deliberate. I slip outside. The air smells like brine and diesel, the harbor a crooked row of fishing boats tied to weathered posts. The sky is a low lid of gray. I scan faces out of habit, old men with cigarettes, a boy tossing bait into a bucket, 2 women in raincoats speaking in low voices. None of them look at me twice. Still, I feel the tension coiling between my shoulders. I keep walking away from the main dock, deeper into the side streets where the pavement turns to gravel. I'm looking for an exit plan, a bus station, a trucker willing to take cash, a boat headed anywhere but here. Half a mile out, I find the bus depot. 2 bays, 1 ticket window. The posted routes are all local, no cross-border runs, nothing international. Perfect if I want to stay hidden, useless if I want to vanish. I'm tracing the route map with my eyes when I hear it. A low rumble of an engine idling where there shouldn't be one. My chest tightens. Don't turn, don't look. The sound draws closer. My instincts, those survival-wired instincts, scream that this is wrong. I step toward the ticket window, pretending to search my pocket for coins. A white van rolls slowly past the depot, the passenger window half down. The man inside wears sunglasses despite the clouds. His head tilts slightly toward me before the van continues on. My pulse thunders. Coincidence, I tell myself. Just a man in a van. But my gut says otherwise. I buy a ticket to the next town, 40 minutes away, not because I plan to stay there, but because moving keeps me harder to pin. While I wait, I take a seat at the edge of the depot, my back to the wall so I can see everything. The van is gone, but the unease stays. Christoph's reach is long. That's the problem with men like him. They don't just have people, they have loyal people. The kind who'd take a bullet to bring a runaway wife home gift-wrapped. When the bus arrives, I board without making eye contact with the driver. The seats are cracked vinyl, the air smelling faintly of damp coats and exhaust. I choose the back corner, tuck my scarf tight around my neck, and keep my gaze fixed out the window. The ride is slow. Every turn feels like a loop back toward him. Every bump jolts me into imagining headlights in the mirror. By the time we pull into the next town, my legs are stiff, my jaw aching from clenching it. I step off into a market square where vendors sell fresh bread, fish, and cheap trinkets. Here, there are more people, more noise. I let it wash over me like armor. I buy a loaf of bread, tear off a piece, and eat while walking. No one pays me much attention. Still, I duck into a side alley to check the reflection in a grimy shop window. Nothing behind me. I tell myself I'm safe for now. Then I see it. Across the street, leaning against a lamppost, a man in a black coat is watching me, not staring, just that casual, calculated stillness that says I'm not moving until you do. I swallow hard, turn away, blend into the crowd. I take 3 quick turns, weaving between stalls and narrow lanes, doubling back twice. When I check again, he's gone. My heart pounds so hard it hurts. Christoph wouldn't have sent someone yet, would he? He said 72 hours. But maybe he's not sending them to take me, just to watch, to remind me he's there. The thought is worse than the van, worse than the man at the lamppost, because it means he's in my head already, tightening the invisible leash without ever pulling it. By the time I make it back to the motel that night, the sky is a deep bruise over the water. I lock the door, slide the chain, and pull the curtains shut. The radiator hums, masking smaller noises. I take out the scarf bundle, unwrap it. The diamonds catch the lamplight, cold fire in my palm. They could buy me a month, maybe more. But they're also a beacon if I try to sell them in the wrong place. I put them back in the vent, out of sight. Sitting on the bed, I tell myself I need a better plan. No more coastal towns, no more waiting. If I can get to a bigger city, I can disappear into its veins. But every route I map in my head curves back toward one truth. Nowhere is safe when the man chasing you doesn't have to chase. I curl on the bed, eyes open to the dark, listening to the radiator. I try to imagine Christoph somewhere far away, too busy to care. But I can't. I can only imagine him, counting down. 72 hours. The worst part is knowing he's letting me run. And that when he comes, he won't come alone.
Chapter 5 Christoph, the first 24 hours are for letting her believe in miracles. It's almost endearing, watching Khadija try to make herself small. Jeans instead of silk, hair hacked short, head down in the crowd. She thinks invisibility is about changing your look. It's not. It's about changing your pattern. And no matter how much she wants to disappear, she's still moving like herself. Pavel's on the other side of my desk, tapping through a live feed on the tablet. Van in Dockside spotted her this morning. Local contact kept distance. I don't need the video to know she saw him. I can imagine the stiffness in her shoulders, the way her pace would change. Not enough for the untrained eye, but I know her already. That little burst of adrenaline in her step when she's cornered. Good, I say. She needs to feel it. A whisper of teeth before the bite. You're sure you want to give her 2 more days? I take the tablet from him, scrolling through the stills, her buying bread in the square, her scanning reflections in shop windows. She's alert. More alert than most. That will make breaking her so much sweeter. Yes, I say. She's not ready yet. Ready for what? I look up, meet Pavel's eyes. For the truth that I don't just find people. I erase their ability to run again. He swallows. Pavel's not afraid of violence. He's afraid of obsession. He's seen what it does to men. But this isn't the kind of obsession that weakens. It's the kind that sharpens the blade. I set the tablet down. Put teams on the coastal towns within a 2-hour radius. No contact. No chase. I want eyes only. And if she tries to move inland, then we make inland look dangerous. Let her see unmarked vans in her periphery. Let her spot one of our men once, twice, then not again. She'll turn back to where she feels familiar. Heard her. Pavel nods. He's good at logistics. Better when I give him the strategy and let him build the bones. After he leaves, I stand at the window, looking down at the sprawl of the city. Moscow is all teeth and glass, reflecting the clouds back like a warning. She probably thinks she's put distance between herself and this place. But distance is meaningless when I own the roads. My phone buzzes, a private line. I answer. Christoph, comes a low voice. Semyon, one of my watchers. Where? I ask. Seafront Market, Vetrinsk. She bought bread, kept to the crowds. No one tailing directly. But, she doubled back 3 times. Nearly lost me on the third. A smile curls my mouth. She's learning. She's also nervous. Keeps checking her reflection. Avoids cameras. I imagine her walking through the stalls, scanning, measuring. My Khadija doesn't just run. She studies the terrain. That's what will get her caught. Not a mistake, but the belief she can outthink me. Leave her, I tell Semyon. Make sure she sees you once, then vanish. We'll switch watchers in 4 hours. There's a pause. You're not worried she'll get too far? I laugh softly. She's already in the palm of my hand. She just hasn't realized how small the world is. When the call ends, I pour myself a drink, vodka neat, and sit in the leather chair that faces the map wall. Every pin on that map is a place I've touched. Every red pin is a place I've taken something from. I slide a fresh pin into the coastal section, right where Vetrinsk sits. 2 more go into the neighboring towns. In my head, the circle tightens like a snare. The thing about a hunt is this. If you run a man down too quickly, you get a kill. But if you give him time, let him feel the hope in his lungs, the victory in his bones. When you take him, you don't just end the chase. You own his mind. Khadija will break in my hands because by the time I close the distance, she'll need the chase to end. She'll want the certainty of my presence more than the chaos of her flight. That's the moment the vows will mean something. When they're carved deep enough, she can't scrape them away. I check the clock. 48 hours left. Plenty of time to teach her that nowhere is safe. I take a call from the Port Authority an hour later. They've flagged a fishing boat captain I've used before. Someone who's moving in and out of the smaller docks without much inspection. Perfect for smuggling contraband. Perfect for sending her a message. Load his deck with something she can't ignore. I tell Pavel when he returns. A crate marked with my crest. Place it where she'll see it, but no one else will question it. She won't know if it's bait or accident. Let her stew in it. And if she takes it as a sign to run further? Good, I say. Let her think the clock is ticking faster than it is. We review the other watcher's notes. She's moving between low-traffic areas, not staying in one place more than a night. That means she's already feeling the press. That's where most prey get sloppy. But Khadija isn't most prey. She's my wife. And when I put my ring on her finger again, it won't come off without taking her. Finger with it. That night, I watched the latest feed from Vetrinsk. The resolution is grainy, but I can see her stepping into the market square. The wind lifts the uneven ends of her hair. She looks different, but she can't erase the way she holds herself. Head slightly tilted, eyes sweeping her surroundings like she's measuring distances. She pauses at a bread stall. The vendor smiles, says something I can't hear. She gives a small nod, turns away. And then, just for a second, her gaze catches something off camera. Her body goes still, then her head turns slightly, her eyes narrowing. She's seen one of mine. Good girl. The feed cuts to another angle, and she's gone. I sit back, let the satisfaction roll through me like a slow burn. Every move she makes now will be because of me, whether I'm in the room or not. That's ownership. Not just of her body, of her fear, her decisions, her hope. The hunt has begun. And when it ends, she won't be running from me anymore. She'll be running to me.
Chapter 6, Khadija. The first time I see the van again, I tell myself it's a coincidence. White, nondescript, sliding by as I step out of the bakery with a loaf still warm through the paper. The same slow roll, the same black-tinted windows, the same wrongness in my chest. I cross the street without looking back. The harbor town of Lisk is bigger than Vetrinsk, more people, more noise, but it's still small enough that strangers stand out. I've been here less than a day, holed up in a tiny apartment above a fishmonger's shop that smells perpetually of salt and lemon cleaner. My landlord, a round man with kind eyes, asked no questions when I paid cash for 3 nights in advance. That's why I picked it. But Christoph's men don't need to knock on doors. They know how to find you without touching the handle. I keep walking, turning into a narrow lane where laundry flaps from balcony to balcony. I catch my reflection in a dusty shop window. Short hair, faded sweatshirt, jeans, my face sharper from days of no rest. I don't recognize myself, but I don't need to. I'm looking for what's behind me. No van, no man leaning against a post, no one with a phone angled in that way that's not really texting. I keep moving. The market is busy, rows of stalls with fish on ice, stacks of fruit, jars of honey catching the late sun. I linger, pretending to browse, until I'm certain I'm not being followed. Then it happens again. Not the van this time. Him, the man from Vetrinsk, the one in the coat, standing at the far end of the market, hands in his pockets, watching, not staring, just there. I freeze mid-step. My pulse spikes. I know this tactic. Show your face once, vanish, let the target feel the air get thinner. It's exactly how Christoph would do it. I turn down an aisle of vegetable crates, heart hammering. My breath catches on the sharp scent of dill and onions. When I risk a glance back, he's gone. That's worse than him staying. I make my way to the far end of the market, buying nothing now, just moving. My hands are cold despite the sun. Every muscle in me is tight enough to snap. It's not paranoia if you've been married to a man who turns paranoia into an art form. Back in the apartment, I bolt the door, slide the chain, and close the curtains. My landlord is downstairs, but if someone comes for me, he'll be the first to look away. I pace the length of the room, 5 steps, turn, 5 steps back. I should move again. Change towns before they draw the net. But moving means travel, and travel means risk. If Christoph is watching the bus stations, the docks, the main roads, every step I take is another chance for him to close the distance. I sink onto the bed, my palms pressed to my knees. 3 days. That's what he gave me. I'm halfway through, and already the walls feel closer. The prepaid phone is on the table, still off, battery beside it. I stare at it until the silence feels like it's pressing on my skin. Finally, I turn it on. It boots slowly, screen flaring pale in the dim room. No messages, no calls. The absence feels like a trick. I power it off again, slide the battery out, and shove it back in my bag. By nightfall, I can't stand the air inside. I put on a jacket, pull the hood up, and step out into the narrow street. The market's closed, the smell of fish faded to salt and oil. A few taverns spill yellow light onto the cobblestones, laughter rising from their open doors. I take the long way toward the pier, keeping to the edges of the light. The water is black under the moon, rocking the boats in their slips. Ropes creak. Somewhere, metal clangs softly. And then, quiet footsteps behind me. I don't turn, I listen. 3 steps, pause, 3 steps, pause. My throat tightens, my hand slips into my pocket, fingers closing around the small folding knife I bought in Vitrinsk. It's not much, but it's something. I keep walking until I reach the end of the pier. The water stretches out, dark and endless ahead of me. If I turn now, I'll have nowhere to go. The footsteps stop. Slowly I turn. No one, just the empty pier, the silent street beyond. I exhale shakily, my hand loosening on the knife. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe. A phone rings. Not mine. A deep, slow tone that carries in the still night. It's coming from the shadow between 2 docked boats. I can't see the phone, can't see who's holding it, but I feel the weight of someone there, watching, waiting. The ringing stops. I back away, keeping my eyes on the dark, and don't turn my back until I've reached the lit street again. By the time I'm back in the apartment, my skin feels too tight for my body. I close the curtains, check the locks twice, and set the knife under my pillow. I don't know if I sleep. If I do, it's shallow, restless. At 3:14 a.m., the prepaid phone vibrates. Not the shrill ring of an incoming call, just the low, steady buzz of a message. My breath catches. My hands feel numb as I put the battery back in, turn it over, and light up the screen. 1 message, no number, 48 hours. That's it. 2 words. I drop the phone like it burned me, but my eyes keep finding it in the dark. He's not guessing where I am. He knows. He's just letting me know he knows. I don't leave the apartment the next morning. I eat the bread I bought yesterday, drink tap water that tastes faintly of metal, and watch the slice of street visible through the gap in the curtains. The van doesn't pass. The man in the coat doesn't appear. But it doesn't matter, I feel them anyway, like pressure in the air before a storm. By afternoon, I've made my decision. I'll head inland tonight, take the night bus, change buses twice, and get as far from the coast as possible. If Christoph's net is tighter here, maybe I can slip out where he's weaker. It's a risk. But staying is worse. I repack my bag, making it lighter: cash, passport, knife, scarf bundle. I leave the rest. At dusk, I slip out the back door, down the narrow alley and toward the depot. The street lamps flicker as I pass. At the corner, I pause to check the road. That's when I see it. The white van. Parked half a block away, engine idling. This time, the passenger window is down. And Christoph's man, the one in the black coat, is sitting in the seat, smiling like he's been waiting for me.
Chapter 7. Christoph. The moment I see her on the feed from LYSK, I know she's about to break her own rules. She's moving faster than she is all week, her hood low, bag strapped tight against her body. The overhead camera catches her at the mouth of the alley, pausing, scanning the street the way prey looks for a gap in the pack. And then she freezes. The corner angle cuts to the front shot. The van idling half a block away, my man in the passenger seat, elbow hooked casually out the window, mouth curved in a smile I trained into him. Not friendly, not mocking, certain. She turns her head slightly, just enough to clock him, and in that split second I see it, the calculation. Fight, flight, or freeze. Flight wins. She spins on her heel and vanishes down the alley. I lean back in my chair, fingers steepled. She's running. Pavel stands behind me, watching the monitors. Do you want her stopped? Not yet. He gives me that wary look again, the one that says he's not sure if I'm patient or cruel. The answer, of course, is both. The van's engine revs. My men don't follow her, at least, not in a way she'll notice. One takes the long route to the bus depot, the other cuts through the back streets, just far enough to be the shadow she can't quite shake. She'll try to leave tonight, I say. Inland. Change buses twice, maybe 3 times. She'll think that many jumps will throw us. And it won't, Pavel says flatly. It never does. By midnight, the first confirmation comes in. She's bought a ticket. Cash, no ID, destination a mid-sized city too far inland for my taste. The bus leaves in 40 minutes. Do we pull her? Pavel asks. No, I study the map on the wall. Let her get there. If we take her too close to where she started, she'll think she hasn't tried hard enough. I want her to run out of excuses before she runs out of road. He doesn't argue. Smart. The bus station feed isn't high quality, but it's enough to watch her sit in the back corner, bag in her lap, eyes darting every time the doors open. When the bus pulls out, I track it through roadside cameras. At the first stop, she gets off, switches to another route. At the second, she repeats the trick. She's good. Better than most. She's thinking 2 moves ahead. But I'm already at checkmate. By dawn, she's in her 3rd city of the night. A portside place with a river wide enough to smell brine on the air. She doesn't know it yet, but she's back on my water. My routes. My men. Pavel steps into my office as the latest still image comes through. Her standing on the quay, looking like she hasn't slept in days, hair rough from wind and salt. She's close, he says. I sip my coffee. Closer than she thinks. Do we? Not yet. The next feed shows her walking toward a row of fishing boats, eyes scanning the names painted in peeling letters. She's looking for transport, cheap, discreet, no questions. Which is exactly why I had that crate placed on the deck of Volia. The camera catches her pause. She sees it, my crest, burned into the wood like a brand. Her shoulders tighten. She turns sharply away from the boat, heading back up the quay. Pavel lets out a low chuckle. She saw it. Good, I say. Now she knows she's inside my reach. Always. By noon, the tone of her movements changes. The spring of hope is gone. She's walking heavier, glancing over her shoulder too often. That's the thing about being hunted. You start carrying the weight of the chase. I take a call from one of my men on the ground. She's in the market. Bought a knife. Small. Could be for herself, could be for us. She won't use it on herself, I say. She's too stubborn. As for us, I let the pause stretch. Let her try. By the time the sun sets, I'm done waiting. The feed from the quay shows her leaning on the railing, looking out at the black water. She's tired. The way she holds herself says she's trying not to feel it, but it's there in the set of her shoulders, the slower blink of her eyes. Pavel is leaning over the console beside me. She's not going anywhere tonight. Good, I say. It's time. He straightens. You want her brought in? Yes, but I want her to feel it first. I make the call. 2 men step into the frame, walking toward her on the quay. Not fast, not threatening, yet. Just presence. She turns, spots them. And there it is, that flash of panic before she masks it. She starts walking the other way. The men follow. She speeds up. They close the gap. She breaks into a run. By the time she rounds the corner toward the empty street, the van is there. It's always there when you need it, if you own the roads. She skids to a stop, backpedals. My men close from behind. There's no struggle. Not really. One grabs her arms, the other takes the bag. She twists, kicks, but she's outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and by now, though she won't admit it, out of fight. She's in the van before the camera angle cuts out. I sit back in my chair, letting the image settle in my mind. Khadija, breathless. Furious, trapped again. This time, there's no veil, no vows, no ceremony. Just my hand on the rope pulling her back, where she belongs. Pavel glances at me. She'll be here by morning. I nod once. Make sure she's not brought straight to the house. I want her at the safe house first. Why? Because I'm not done hunting her, I say, my voice low and certain. And I want her to know that even when she's caught, the game doesn't stop. It only changes.
Chapter 8, Khadija. The van's engine is a low growl. I hear it before I see it, before I even turn the corner onto that empty street. 1 second I'm running from the men on the quay, the next I'm face to face with the open mouth of the van's side door. Black interior, 2 shadows inside. The smell of exhaust and cold metal fills the air. I stop short. Too short, hands clamp on my arms from behind, hard, unyielding, the kind that has practiced the grip until it's muscle memory. I twist, kicking back with my heel. It connects with a shin and earns me a grunt, but not freedom. The second man moves in, prying the bag from my shoulder before I can clamp it to my chest. My fingers scrape against the strap. They don't care. My scarf bundle, diamonds, insurance, is gone in 2 seconds flat. No! The word rips from my throat before I can stop it. The man holding me laughs once, not a warm sound. Not yours anymore. I jerk forward. trying to use my weight to throw him off balance, but it's like trying to drag a building. He shifts, tightening his grip so my arms are pinned across my chest, crushing the breath out of me. The van door slides wider. The smell inside is worse. Oil, sweat, wet, leather that's soaked in the scent of every job it's done before this one. I dig my heels into the pavement, sucking in a breath to scream. A hand slaps over my mouth. That's when I feel it, cold steel pressing against my ribs. A knife, small enough to disappear in a palm, sharp enough that I don't need to see the edge to believe it. "Get in," the man says near my ear, his voice low, without urgency. Like there's no world in which I don't obey. I shake my head once. The blade pushes harder, just enough to pierce the first thin layer of skin through my sweatshirt. I go still. They move me forward, feet barely touching the ground before I'm half lifted into the van. The door slides shut behind me with a sound that feels like the end of something. Inside, the light is dim, just the dashboard glow and a thin line of moonlight through the windshield. My eyes adjust quickly enough to make out the driver, the man in the black coat in the passenger seat, and one more beside me on the bench. The black coat smiles. "Evening, Mrs. Petrov?" "I'm not your anything." My voice is steady, but my pulse isn't. He shrugs like my words are a joke he's heard before. "We'll see." The van jolts forward. I shift against the man next to me, testing for space, for a weak grip, for anything. His hand lands heavy on my thigh, more warning than restraint. I turn my gaze to the window. Streetlights streak past, the sea vanishing behind us. Every turn takes me further inland. The air in the van feels thick. Every sound is amplified, the tires humming over the road, the faint creak of leather, my own heartbeat in my ears. No one talks, not until the city lights are gone and the road narrows into dark forest. "Where are you taking me?" I ask. Blackcoat answers without looking back. "Somewhere quiet." I push. "Christoph told you to do this?" This time, he does glance at me, just long enough for me to see the glint of amusement in his eyes. Christoph doesn't tell us to do things. He tells us how he wants them done. My stomach twists. I face forward again, watching the road curve through the trees. There's no chance of jumping here, too fast, too far from anything. So I do what I can. I start memorizing. The time between turns. The faint smell of pine sap when we pass a logging road. The way the road dips and the sound changes, probably a bridge over a stream. It's the only control I have left, information. We stop after what feels like an hour, maybe more. The headlights wash over a 2-story cabin tucked back from the road, windows dark, roof heavy with moss. The forest presses close on all sides, swallowing the sky. The door slides open. Cold air rushes in. The man beside me gestures with his chin. "Out." I hesitate. The knife is gone, but his size is enough of a threat. I step down onto gravel, my breath fogging in the night. Black coat follows, holding my bag in one hand, my scarf bundle in the other. He tosses the bag at me. I catch it, almost dropping it from the sudden weight. "Inside," he says, nodding toward the cabin. I look around, hoping for lights from another house, a road, anything. There's nothing but trees and shadow. I walk. The gravel crunches under my shoes. My shoulders ache from the earlier grip. My ribs still feel the ghost of the blade. Inside, the cabin smells of wood smoke and something sharper. Cleaning chemicals, maybe. The main room is simple. A couch, a table, a wood-burning stove. A closed door on the far wall. Another to the left. The man who drove takes my arm and steers me to the left-hand door. A bedroom, bare except for a bed and a single high window. The window is nailed shut. "This is you," he says. I don't answer. I set the bag on the bed, unzipping it just enough to see the scarf bundle is missing. Of course, Black Coat leans in the doorway. "You'll see him soon." I keep my face blank, tell him not to bother. He smiles like I've just said something particularly sweet. That's not my job. The door shuts. A heavy click follows. Locked. I stand still for a long time, listening to the muffled sound of their voices in the other room. I can't make out the words, just the rhythm of conversation. No urgency. No rush. Like they know I'm exactly where they want me. And they've got all the time in the world. The bed creaks when I sit. My bag feels lighter now, stripped of whatever they decided I didn't need. I press my palms to my knees, forcing myself to breathe evenly. Christoph isn't here yet, but he will be, and that's the problem. Because somewhere, under the sharp edge of fear, I feel something else. Not relief, not safety, something darker. I push it down. I don't know how long I sit there before I hear the sound. Low, steady, getting closer. An engine, bigger than the van, tires crunching on gravel. The voices in the other room go quiet. Footsteps, the front door opening. A gust of cold air, and then his voice. Low. Certain. Close enough that it's not memory. Where is she? I stand, heart hammering. The locked door doesn't feel like a barrier anymore. It feels like a countdown. When it opens, I don't know if I'll run at him or away from him.
Chapter 9. Christoph. The safe house door opens, and the smell of cold forest air follows me inside. Pavel shuts it behind me, the click of the lock sealing the space like a vault. My men stand just out of the path between me and the bedroom door. They know better than to block it. She's in there. I ask. Black coat nods once. Didn't say much on the ride. Tried to keep her eyes on the road. Tried. Not succeeded. I can picture her stealing glances at the van's windows, trying to catch landmarks, counting turns. Smart but useless. The route here is mine, roads that don't exist on maps, carved through private land I've owned for years. How's her mood? Pavel answers this time, a shadow of a grin on his face. Defiant. Good. Fear without fire is boring. I strip off my gloves, tossing them on the table, and walk toward the bedroom. The wood floor creaks under my boots. My hand finds the doorknob. I don't bother knocking. She's standing when I open the door, back straight, chin high. She's changed out of the hooded sweatshirt, now in a simple long-sleeve shirt and jeans, hair slightly mussed from the van ride. Her eyes lock on mine instantly. For a moment, neither of us moves. Then I step inside, shutting the door behind me. The click echoes in the small room. You've been busy, I say, voice low. Her lips press into a thin line. I was leaving. You left. I take a step closer. And then I found you. She doesn't flinch, but I see the way her pulse jumps in her throat. Let me guess, I continue. You thought this town was far enough. That you'd change buses enough times, cross enough streets, double back just enough, and I'd lose interest. You're not my interest to lose, she says. That earns her a slow smile. You're lying. I've been in your head since the moment we met. I don't just take space there, I own it. Her eyes flash, a mix of anger and something else. You own nothing. I close the distance in 2 strides, my hand catching her chin, tilting her face up. She stiffens, but she doesn't pull away. Everything, I say, my voice dropping to a growl. I own everything. The room you're in, the road that brought you here, the men outside that door, the air you're breathing, and most of all, I lean in, close enough that my breath brushes her ear. You. She jerks her chin from my grip, stepping back. You think because you caught me you win? That's all you wanted? A chase. Not just a chase, I say, following her retreat. I wanted you to understand. Running doesn't save you. It teaches you how far you'll go before you realize the only place you'll end up is back here. Back with me. You call this being with you? She snaps. Locked in a room in the middle of nowhere? I let out a low chuckle. No. This is the part where I strip away the illusions you still have. By the time we walk out of here, there will be no doubt in your mind who you belong to. She backs up until her calves hit the bed frame. Her hands curl at her sides, fingers flexing like she's debating whether to hit me. Say it, I murmur. Her brow furrows. Say what? That you thought you could win. Her mouth twists. I can win. I just need more time. I shake my head slowly, savoring the way her confidence fights to hold. Time isn't your ally, Katija. It's mine. Every hour you ran, I learned you. Every choice you made told me exactly how you think, how you hide, how you breathe when you're scared. You gave me the map to you, and now, I reach past her, planting one hand on the bedpost so she can't sidestep me. I'm standing at the end of it. Her breathing is faster now. Not panic, but awareness. You could have taken me that first night, she says, voice tight. I could have. I let the pause hang heavy. But I wanted you to know what it feels like to believe you're free. To taste it. Because now you'll remember exactly how it felt when I took it back. Her gaze locks with mine, and for a moment it's just the two of us breathing in the charged space between words. I step back just enough to break the wall of my presence around her. Get some rest. We leave tomorrow. Where? My house. I watch the way the word lands. I'm not going back there. You are, I say simply. And you'll walk in beside me. Her laugh is short, sharp. You think you can force me to smile for your men? I don't need you to smile, I say. I just need you to stand there and let them see you. They'll know exactly what it means, that I hunted you, caught you, and kept you. She shakes her head, looking away. You're a monster. I tilt my head, studying her. And you're still mine. I turn to the door, pausing with my hand on the knob. Try to sleep. Tomorrow's going to be instructive. When I leave, I don't lock the door behind me. Pavel raises an eyebrow from the couch in the main room. No lock. If she tries to leave, let her, I say. There's nowhere to go. And if she does try... I glance toward the window, where the forest outside presses against the glass. Let her see how the woods swallow people who don't belong here. He nods once, understanding the point. A cage with the door open is more effective than one with bars. Later, when the house is quiet, I walk past her room. The door is still closed. I pause, listening. No footsteps, no creak of the bed. Just the slow rhythm of her breathing on the other side. She's not sleeping. Neither am I. But I don't need her to rest. I just need her to realize that every second she spends here, she's sinking deeper into my territory. Until leaving isn't even an option she'll pretend to have. By morning, we'll be on the road again. And by the end of the week, she'll stop calling it running. She'll start calling it coming home.
Chapter 10. Katia. The forest smells like damp earth and something metallic. Maybe it's the van. Maybe it's Christoph. He hasn't spoken to me since we left the safe house that morning. He's in the seat beside me in the back, one arm stretched along the bench as if this is a chauffeured ride instead of a forced return. The driver and another man are up front, silent, except for the occasional low exchange in Russian. I keep my eyes on the trees whipping past the window. They're too tall, too thick, blocking the sky in jagged green-black lines. No landmarks, no road signs, the kind of place that swallows you without spitting you back out. You're wasting your time, I say finally, not looking at him. Christoph doesn't sound the least bit tired when he answers. Talking to you is never a waste of time. I turn my head then, meeting his gaze. Dragging me back like this. Do you think it makes you look strong? It makes you look pathetic. Weak men chase women who don't want them. His mouth curves slightly, but it's not a smile. Weak men chase to prove something. I'm not proving anything. I'm reminding you of what you already know. That I hate you? That you're mine, he says, calm and certain, like we're discussing the weather. I laugh, a short, sharp sound. If I'm yours, it's only because you keep me in a cage. You mistake the cage for the reason, he says. You're in it because you ran. You'll stay because you'll choose to. My skin prickles. Never. He leans in, just slightly. You said that about marrying me, too. I glare at him, heat crawling up my neck. That was different. His hand lifts, fingers brushing a lock of my uneven hair behind my ear. No, it wasn't. I jerk back, hitting the window with my shoulder. Don't touch me. Christoph's gaze sharpens. Not angry, not yet, but heavier, like he's measuring the exact weight of my defiance. You'll tell me to stop a lot, he says. You'll mean it sometimes, and sometimes you won't. The way he says it makes my stomach flip. Part fury, part something I don't want to name. We drive for hours. I count the turns, the brief flashes of open sky, the sound of water when we pass over a bridge. Every detail could matter later. At one point, the van slows for a narrow pass. On instinct, my eyes flick to the door handle. The lock's simple. If I time it, Christoph's voice cuts in before I move. Don't. I look at him, startled. His expression is unreadable. You'd make it 10 meters before my men have you face down on the gravel. If you're lucky, I'd call them off before they dislocate anything. Maybe I'd make it 20, I say, even though we both know I wouldn't. He actually smiles at that. Just a flicker. And that's why I like you, Katija. You'd rather break your own bones than let me think you've given up. I'd rather disappear and never hear your name again. You can't disappear, he says. Not from me. We stop for fuel in a town so small I can see from one end to the other. The driver steps out to pump gas. The other man goes inside to pay. Christoph stays in the van with me. The air smells faintly of rain. I watch the empty street, calculating distance to the nearest building, the angle I'd need to take to get out of sight before the men outside noticed. Christoph's voice comes low and even. Run here, and I'll drag you back in front of the whole town. I look at him. And then I'll make sure they hear you call me husband before I put you back in the van. My stomach knots. You think humiliation is a leash? No, he says. You are the leash. You just haven't realized you've wrapped it around yourself yet. The driver returns. We pull away. The rain starts to fall, soft at first, then heavier, streaking the glass. By the time the city skyline appears in the distance, I've stopped talking. Not because I've given up, but because I'm saving the next move for when it matters. Christoph leans forward, resting his elbows on his knees. When we get to the house, you'll stay in the east wing. You'll have anything you want, except an exit. I can't help the bitter laugh. That's not anything I want. It is, he says. You just don't want the right things yet. And what are the right things according to you? He glances at me, his gaze steady. Me. The simplicity of it makes my chest tighten, not with agreement, but with the awful knowledge that he believes it. Completely. The gates to his mansion are tall, black iron, swinging open on silent hinges as the van approaches. The driveway curves through manicured gardens I barely register. My mind's on the walls. How high, what they're made of, whether they're meant to keep people out or in. We stop under the porte cochere. The driver opens my door. Christoph steps out first, then turns back, offering me his hand. I don't take it. I step down on my own, chin high. His mouth tilts in that almost smile again. Good. Walk in on your own feet. The front doors open, the house stretching wide and cold inside. Marble floors, high ceilings, the faint scent of something floral. I keep my head up as I cross the threshold, even though my legs want to lock and refuse to move. Christoph's hand brushes the small of my back, not pushing, not steadying, just reminding. Welcome home, he says. I don't answer, but inside I make a promise. The fire he thinks is his, I'll make sure it burns him too.
Chapter 11. Christoph, the sound of her footsteps on my marble floors is like a victory drum. She hates every step, which makes it sweeter. Khadija walks ahead of me, her spine straight, her chin tilted just enough to pretend this isn't defeat. My men at the door watch us enter, their gazes flicking between her and me, reading the truth in our silence. She doesn't know it yet, but I wanted this arrival exactly like this. No struggling, no screaming. Just her walking into my house under her own power. The symbolism will sink in later. East wing. I tell the housekeeper as we pass. She nods, disappearing toward the hallway to prepare the suite. Khadija's eyes flick briefly toward the movement before sliding back to the grand staircase ahead. The chandelier light catches in her hair. It's uneven from her own hasty cut, but somehow the imperfection only makes her look more dangerous. I like dangerous. It means she hasn't broken yet. I step beside her. Upstairs. We'll talk there. Her gaze cuts to me, sharp enough to slice. We're talking now. My hand closes gently but firmly around her elbow, guiding her toward the stairs. No. Now we're walking. In the east wing, the doors open to a suite bigger than most apartments. Soaring ceilings, tall windows overlooking the gardens, a private sitting room, bedroom, and bath. It's comfortable, even beautiful. But it's still a cage. She walks inside without hesitation, scanning the space like she's looking for weaknesses. Don't bother, I say. Windows are reinforced. Door locks from the outside. The balcony is a 30-foot drop onto stone. Her head turns slowly toward me. You've really thought of everything. I've practiced, I say, closing the door behind us. I let the silence stretch for a few beats. Then I step closer, until the space between us is just enough for her to feel the heat of me. You ran, I say. You broke our vows before the ink was dry. They weren't vows, she snaps. They were a sentence. I nod slowly. A sentence you tried to escape, which means we're starting over. Her brows draw together. Starting over? Yes, I say, my voice low. From the part where I teach you the consequences of disobedience. Her body tenses, but she doesn't move away when I lift my hand to cup her jaw. My thumb brushes the corner of her mouth, tracing the line of defiance there. This isn't about hurting you, I murmur. It's about teaching you that running from me will always cost you more than staying. Her eyes flash. And what do I get for staying? I let the pause linger before I answer. Everything you think you can take without asking. My protection. My name. My loyalty. My hands on you whenever I want them. Her breath catches. Not out of fear, exactly, but because she knows I mean every word. I release her and walk to the sitting room table, where a black velvet box waits. I flip it open, revealing a slim platinum chain. Her eyes narrow. Another tracker? I smile. Yes, but this one you'll put on yourself. She folds her arms. I'll do nothing of the sort. I pick up the chain, the cool metal sliding between my fingers. You will. Because if you don't, I'll put it on you myself, and I won't be nearly as gentle. For a moment, we just stare at each other. Then slowly, she steps forward, snatches the chain from my hand, and fastens it around her neck with sharp, precise movements. Happy, she asks. Not yet, I say. But we're getting there. I close the distance again, my hand lifting to test the weight of the chain against her collarbone. Better, I murmur. Now you look like you belong here. Her voice is low and tight. I'll cut it off the first chance I get. I meet her gaze. Then I'll put it back on. And next time, I won't stop at your neck. The air between us thickens. She's breathing faster, and I can feel the edge of her resistance, still strong, but bending under the weight of proximity. The knock at the door breaks the moment. Pavel's voice comes through. Christoph. It's urgent. I open the door just enough to see his face. His jaw is tight, his eyes darker than usual. What is it? Trouble at the North Docks. One of our shipments. It's not random. I know what he's not saying. This is an enemy's move. Maybe the same enemy who's been sniffing around since Khadija ran. I glance back at her. She's standing exactly where I left her, but her eyes are sharp, listening. Keep her here, I tell Pavel. Double the guard. Pavel nods. I turn back to Khadija. Don't mistake my absence for opportunity, I warn her. Every hallway has eyes. If you walk past your door, I'll know. She lifts her chin. Then I'll be sure to wave. My mouth curves in something that's not quite a smile. Good. That way I'll know exactly which hand to hold when I drag you back inside. I step into the hall, closing the door behind me, but the image of her standing there, defiant, chain catching the light, stays with me as I head toward the fight waiting at the docks. Part of me hopes. She tries something while I'm gone. The other part hopes she's still there when I return. Either way, she's learning the lesson. And by the time I'm done, she'll know it by heart.
Chapter 12, Khadija. The moment Christoph's footsteps fade down the hall, the air in the suite feels lighter. Not safe, never safe, but lighter. I don't move right away. The guards outside the door aren't pretending to be discreet. Their low voices and the weight of their presence seep through the wood like damp. He said there were eyes in every hallway, and I believe him. But belief isn't enough to keep me still. I walk to the balcony doors, testing the latch. Locked. The windows, too, thick glass, reinforced, just like he said. The 30-foot drop beyond them is jagged stone framed by manicured hedges. A fall might not kill me, but it would make running impossible. The necklace at my throat feels heavier than it should. I tug at the clasp. It doesn't give. Not even a millimeter. He's used some trick clasp only he can open. Of course, I mutter. I check the suite again. Not for escape, but for information. The wardrobe is stocked with clothes in my size, all neutral tones, expensive fabrics. My bag is on the bed, half emptied. The scarf bundle is gone. I sink onto the couch in the sitting room, pulling my knees up, thinking. I hate the stillness. I hate not knowing how long he'll be gone. I hate knowing that when he comes back, it'll be on his terms. A sharp pop breaks the quiet. Not inside. Outside. Distant, but too sharp to be fireworks. I freeze, listening. Another pop. Louder. Closer. The guards outside react instantly, the scrape of boots, the snap of a bolt being pulled back on a gun. One of them mutters something in Russian. What's going on? I call. No answer. I cross to the door, pressing my ear against it. More voices now, more hurried. Then the sound of boots running, fading toward the far end of the wing. The silence that follows is worse than the noise. When the first crash hits, it comes from downstairs, a heavy, shattering sound that rattles the glass in the windows. I jerk back from the door, my pulse spiking. The second crash is closer, and underneath it, the distinct, ugly crack of gunfire. I grab the nearest heavy object, a lamp, and clutch it like a club. My breaths are too fast, my palms slick against the ceramic. The gunfire grows louder. Boots thunder up the stairs. A voice shouts something sharp in Russian. Then, silence again. The door bursts open. Not Christoph. A man in a black mask and tactical gear fills the doorway, a rifle in his hands. His eyes flick to me, narrowing. I swing the lamp. It connects with his arm. Not his head, but hard enough to make him grunt. The rifle dips. I bolt for the bedroom, looking for anything to put between us. He recovers fast, too fast. His hand catches my wrist before I can grab the chair. The lamp clatters to the floor. Let go. I twist, kick, scratch, but his grip is iron. A blur moves in the doorway. Christoph. He hits the man like a wrecking ball. No warning, no hesitation. The rifle is ripped away, slammed to the floor. Kristoff drives him back against the wall with one hand around his throat, the other punching into his gut with bone-cracking force. The man gasps, his knees buckling. Kristoff doesn't let him fall. He smashes him into the wall again, then shoves him to the ground where he stays, coughing. Kristoff turns to me. His chest is heaving, his eyes blazing. "Are you hurt?" I shake my head, my pulse still thundering in my ears. He steps forward, catching my chin in his hand, scanning my face. "Any blood? Any bruises?" "I'm fine," I manage, but my voice isn't steady. His gaze flicks to the necklace, then back to my eyes. "Good. You're not leaving this room again without me." The words snap something in me. I don't need you to protect me. His hand drops, but his expression doesn't soften. "You just almost got taken out of my house by one of my enemies. You think they'd treat you better than I do?" "I think they'd let me go," I spit back. He laughs once, a cold, humorless sound. "No, Khadija. They'd use you until you were no longer worth anything, and then they'd feed you to the river. You're only alive right now because you're mine." The worst part is that I know he's telling the truth. The guards arrive, dragging the intruder away. Kristoff orders them to lock down the estate, double the perimeter watch. His voice is low and sharp, but his eyes keep cutting back to me, as if to make sure I'm still standing there. When the room is empty again, he closes the door, leaning back against it. "This is why you can't run," he says. "Not because I won't find you, though I will, but because the second you step outside my protection, you're in someone else's crosshairs." I wrap my arms around myself. "And I'm supposed to be grateful?" "You're supposed to be alive," he says. For a moment, neither of us moves. Then he steps forward, catching my hand in his. I expect him to squeeze hard, but instead, his grip is steady, almost grounding. "I will kill every man who comes for you," he says quietly. "Even if you hate me while I do it." I pull my hand free, but the words stick in my head long after he leaves to deal with the mess downstairs. I don't want his protection. I don't want to need it. But tonight proved one thing I can't ignore. Running doesn't just put distance between me and Kristoff. It puts me in the path of men who are worse.
Chapter 13, Kristoff, the blood on the marble hasn't been cleaned yet. I like it that way. It reminds my men, and my enemies, what happens when someone tries to breach my walls. The body of the masked intruder is gone, but the memory of my hands around his throat is still warm in my muscles. He died before he could tell me who sent him, but I already know. The Volkov Bratva has been too quiet for months. Quiet means planning, and planning means they've been waiting for an opportunity. Khadija's escape gave them one. Pavel stands beside me in the study, leaning over the map spread across my desk. Red pins mark our strongholds, black pins mark theirs. "They hit the North Docks last night," he says. "Small shipment, ammo and cash, but it was bait. The real target was here." He taps the map where the estate sits like a crown jewel above the city. "They didn't expect to get me," I say. "They expected to get her." Pavel's eyes lift to mine. "You think they wanted leverage?" I nod. Khadija is more than my wife. She's the bridge between two empires. If they take her, it's not just personal, it's a declaration of war. I step away from the desk, pacing to the window. The gardens outside look serene, untouched by the violence inside these walls. But serenity is an illusion, and I'm done letting anyone believe it's real. "They think she's a weakness," I say. "They're wrong." Pavel crosses his arms. "So what's the move?" I turn, my voice low and certain. "We hit them before they can regroup. Hard. And we make it clear that coming after what's mine has a cost they can't afford." The door to the study opens. Khadija steps in without knocking. She's changed, black leggings, a soft sweater, hair brushed into a neater version of the uneven cut she gave herself. The chain at her neck catches the light. Her eyes go to the map first, then to me. "They were after me, weren't they?" Pavel glances at me, waiting for permission. I give him a short nod before he leaves, closing the door behind him. "Yes," I say. She steps closer, her jaw set. "Then you should have let them take me." My hands curl into fists. "Don't say that." Her chin lifts. "If they had me, you wouldn't have to drag me back here. You'd be rid of me." I cross the room in 3 strides, stopping close enough that she has to tilt her head back to meet my eyes. "If they had you, you'd be dead in a week. Maybe less. And they wouldn't just kill you, Khadija. They'd take you apart first. Piece by piece. Slowly." Her throat works as she swallows, but her voice stays steady. "You make it sound like you're the better option." I am. For a moment, we just stand there, the air between us tight with everything unspoken. Then I turn back to the map. They made a mistake, I say. They came into my house and left blood on my floor. Now I'm going to make sure they remember why they fear my name. Her voice is quieter now. What does that mean? It means war, I say simply. That night, I call every captain in the Petrov Bratva to the war room. The long table fills with men in dark suits, their expressions sharp, waiting. They think I'm distracted, I begin. They think my wife is a soft spot they can dig into until the whole structure caves. They're wrong. I nod to Pavel, who slides a stack of photos onto the table. Images from the security footage of the attack. Faces. Weapons. The Volkov crest on the shoulder of one man's jacket. These are the men who stepped onto my property, I say. Some of them are still breathing. That will change. The men nod, some murmuring in agreement. When the meeting ends, Pavel lingers. You're going to keep her here while this plays out? Yes, I say. Under guard, always in my sight when I'm home. And if she tries to run again? I meet his gaze. She won't get far. Not this time. And if she does try? I let the thought trail off, but the look in my eyes is enough to make him nod. Later, I find Katija in the East Wing sitting room. She's curled in one of the armchairs, staring at the fire. You should be asleep, I say. Her eyes flick to me. Hard to sleep when you know someone wants to kill you. I walk to the chair opposite hers, lowering myself into it. You're safe here. She lets out a short laugh. Safe isn't the same as free. No, I agree. It's better. She shakes her head, looking back at the fire. You really believe that, don't you? I do, I say. And by the time this is over, you will too. Outside, the estate is quiet again. But quiet doesn't mean peace. It means the storm is coming. And when it breaks, the Volkovs will learn the same lesson Katija is learning. Nothing that belongs to me is ever taken. Not without blood.
Chapter 14. Katija, I'm not supposed to be here. Not in this hallway. Not with bare feet on cold marble, moving like a shadow. Christoph thinks the East Wing is my cage. He's right, mostly. But tonight the guards outside my door are distracted, rotating shifts, murmuring in low voices about the attack. I wait until their footsteps fade down the corridor before slipping out. I don't know what I'm looking for. Maybe an exit. Maybe a way to get my scarf bundle back. Maybe just proof that I'm not imagining the danger humming through these walls. I pass 2 closed doors, a narrow servant's stair, and the formal dining room before I hear it. Voices, low but sharp, coming from Christoph's study. I recognize one instantly. Pavel. The other is Christoph. I press my back to the wall near the door, leaning just close enough to catch their words. She doesn't know, Pavel says. Christoph's voice is colder than I've ever heard it. She doesn't need to. She's your wife, Christoph. If she finds out from someone else, she won't. There's a pause. I hear the clink of glass, the slow pour of liquor. Pavel lowers his voice, but I still catch it. The Volkovs didn't just hit the docks for bait. They took that shipment because it was the one tied to her father's deal. My stomach tightens. My father? Christoph doesn't answer right away. When he does, his tone is sharp enough to cut. Her father sold that route to me in exchange for the marriage. He wanted the alliance. I wanted the port. The Volkovs wanted both. And you think they'll stop with the shipment? Pavel asks. No, Christoph says. They'll come for her again, but not for leverage this time. Then for what? Silence. Then, Christoph's voice, low and lethal, to finish what they started with her family 10 years ago. The words land like a blow. I press my palm to the wall to steady myself. My mind scrambles through memories, my father's tight-lipped meetings, the sudden relocations when I was younger, the bodyguards who came and went. He never talked about enemies. He never talked about war. 10 years ago, I was barely old enough to understand that things in our house had changed, that we moved because of something that happened at the docks, that my mother started locking every window at night. The Volkovs weren't after Christoph's empire when they came here. They were after me. I hear movement in the study, the scrape of chairs, panic spikes in my chest. I back away from the door, keeping to the shadows until I'm far enough down the hall to move faster. By the time I slip back into the East Wing, the guards are returning to their posts. I climb into bed fully dressed, pulling the covers over me. My mind is a riot of thoughts, questions, and cold realizations. Christoph didn't just marry me to cement an alliance. He married me to take something my father owed him. And now, because of that deal, I'm not just Christoph's possession. I'm a target in a war I didn't even know existed. I lie awake for hours replaying every moment since the wedding. The attack at the mansion wasn't random. The crate on the boat wasn't coincidence. The man in the black coat didn't just find me by luck. The Volkovs have been moving toward me all along, and Christoph, whether he admits it or not, has been using himself as the shield. When I finally hear his footsteps outside my door, they're heavier than usual. The lock clicks, and the door opens just enough for him to slip in. He doesn't turn on the light. "Still awake?" he asks. I keep my voice even. "Yes." He crosses the room, stopping beside the bed. "The estate's secure now, you can sleep." "I'm not sure I can," I say. He studies me in the dim light from the window. "What's wrong?" I almost ask him outright. I almost demand the truth about my father, about the deal, about why the Volkovs would want me dead. But I don't. Not yet. Instead, I say, "I don't like being in the dark." His jaw tightens, but his voice stays calm. "Sometimes it's the safest place to be. Or the most dangerous," I counter. His eyes search mine, like he's weighing whether I know more than I should. "Go to sleep, Katia." He leaves as quietly as he came. I stare at the ceiling long after he's gone, my mind made up. If Christoph won't tell me the whole truth, I'll find it myself. And when I do, I'll decide whether the bigger threat is outside these walls or sleeping in the room next to mine.
Chapter 15. Christoph Pavel wakes me at 4:12 a.m. with a phone call. He doesn't waste time with greetings. They're coming for her tonight. I'm already sitting up before the words finish leaving his mouth. Where? Not here. The Volkovs are using an outside contractor. Mercenaries, not Bratva. Plan is to grab her while she's being moved. I swing my legs out of bed, the cold floor biting my bare feet. Being moved where? That's the part that doesn't make sense, Pavel says. They think she's being transferred to one of the downtown properties. I've already traced the leak. It's from a man we took on after her wedding. He's been feeding them false schedules. False schedules. Good. That means Katija is still asleep in the East Wing and not in the back of a van with a gun pressed to her ribs. But it also means my men have been compromised inside my own walls. I grab my watch, my sidearm, and a black shirt from the chair. Find him. Break him. I want to know every name he's passed our business to in the last 6 months. Pavel hesitates. And the mercenaries? Don't scare them off, I say. Trap them. I want them to think they're walking into an easy job. He exhales like he's been holding his breath. Understood. By 5:30, I'm in the war room, leaning over the table as my men lay out the plan. We're going to let the Volkovs contractors reach the decoy location, then seal it from all sides. No survivors, no loose ends. I glance at the clock. The operation is set for midnight. That gives me the day to make sure Katija stays exactly where I can see her. When I step into her suite, she's at the window, looking out over the gardens. She's dressed, hair loose, the chain at her neck catching the morning light. You're up early, I say. She turns, eyes narrowing. Couldn't sleep. I cross the room, stopping just close enough to take her chin in my hand. Good. You'll need to stay alert today. Her brow furrows. Why? Because there are still men out there who think taking you from me is worth dying for, I say. And I'm going to make sure they do. Something flickers in her gaze. Anger, maybe, or something darker. You make it sound like you're protecting me for my sake. I let a slow smile curve my mouth. Protection doesn't care about motives. It only cares about results. The day is a blur of movement, checking security posts, rotating guards, making sure every camera and sensor on the estate is live. Katija shadows me, not because she wants to, but because I tell her she will. By evening, she's tense, her gaze tracking every man who passes us in the hall. They all work for you, she asks. Yes, I say. And if one of them didn't? I look at her, letting the weight of my stare sink in. Then he wouldn't work for anyone ever again. At 11:45, I leave her in the East Wing under Pavel's watch and head out with my crew. The city is quiet, but the kind of quiet that makes the hair on your neck rise. The decoy property is an abandoned warehouse by the river, lit only by a few dim bulbs strung along the walls. My men are already in position, 3 on the roof, for inside, 2 more in unmarked vans down the street. We don't wait long. At exactly midnight, 2 black SUVs pull up. 6 men spill out, all in dark tactical gear, faces covered. They move fast, rifles up, slipping inside without checking the corners. Amateurs. The first two go down silently, my roof team dropping them with suppressed shots before they even reach the second room. The next pair is met with steel to the skull from the shadows. The last two make it to the back hallway before they see me. I don't draw my gun. I want them to understand who they walked into. The bigger one swings his rifle toward me, but I'm already moving, knocking it aside and slamming my fist into his jaw. The other tries to come at me from the side. I catch him by the collar, driving him into the wall hard enough to rattle the glass in the windows. When they're both on the ground, I crouch between them. Who sent you? They glance at each other, then back at me. No answer. I grab the bigger one by the throat, squeezing until his eyes bulge. Who? Sent. You. His voice is a rasp. Volkov. I release him just enough to let him breathe. Message for Volkov, I say. Tell him next time he wants something of mine, he should come himself. They don't answer. They're still coughing when my men drag them out into the night. By the time I'm back at the estate, it's nearly 3. The guards at the east wing door step aside instantly. Khadija is awake, sitting in the armchair by the fire. She looks at me, her gaze scanning for blood. You're back, she says. Of course. Her eyes narrow. Who is it this time? Men who won't be coming back. She studies me for a long moment. And how many more will there be? As many as it takes, I say. Her jaw tightens. Until what? Until they stop coming? Or until I stop running? I step closer, resting my hands on the arms of her chair, leaning down. Until my face is inches from hers. Until they believe what you still don't. She doesn't blink. And what's that? That nothing in this world, not a man, not a war, not a bullet, can take you from me. I straighten, the heat between us still simmering. I don't tell her the rest of the truth, that the Volkovs won't stop until they've either killed her or forced me to burn their entire empire to the ground. Both are outcomes I'm ready for. And if she doesn't believe me now, she will when she sees the blood in the streets.
Chapter 16, Katia. I don't hear them until they're already inside. It's the middle of the afternoon, sunlight spilling across the sitting room in the east wing. I'm alone. Pavel had left to deal with some logistics, and the guards outside my door had been silent for the last half hour. I thought maybe Christoph had finally loosened the leash enough to let me breathe. Then the first crash comes. The door flies inward, splintering at the hinges. 2 men in black flood the room, faces hidden behind masks. I'm on my feet before they've crossed the threshold, but there's nowhere to run. Move, one snaps in accented Russian. I don't. That earns me a rough shove toward the bedroom. I catch myself on the bedpost, already searching for anything I can use as a weapon. My hand closes around the lamp, but the second man rips it from my grip before I can swing. Let go of me. I spit, thrashing as the first one grabs my wrist. Not here to hurt you, he says, his voice muffled through the mask. We just need you to come with us. It's almost funny, if he thinks that line is supposed to make me go quietly. I rake my nails down his forearm, enough to make him grunt and adjust his grip. That's when I twist and slam my heel into his shin. He stumbles, but the second man is already behind me, wrapping an arm around my middle and hauling me off my feet. I kick, scream, claw, anything to make it harder for them. My heart's hammering so hard I barely hear the sound of the window smashing. They're not heading for the door. They're taking me out the damn window. Cold air hits my face as they drag me over the broken sill. The drop to the ground is shorter than I expect. The garden wall is just beyond. A third man is waiting there, engine idling in a black SUV. I'm shoved into the back seat, one of them climbing in beside me. The door slams, and we're moving before I can even get my bearings. The man next to me pulls a zip tie around my wrists, cinching it tight enough to bite. No screaming, he says. I don't listen. I yell anyway, wordless at first, then a string of curses. He ignores me. We're maybe 5 minutes out when the first sign of pursuit comes, a black sedan in the mirror closing fast. Shit, the driver mutters in Russian. The man beside me looks out the back window, swears, and pulls a pistol from his jacket. I know that car, Christoph. The SUV swerves hard onto a side road, tires spitting gravel. My shoulder slams into the door. Prick. The man next to me grabs my arm, keeping me from being thrown across the seat. Let me go, I hiss, trying to twist away. Quiet, he says again, but there's a crack in his composure now. The sedan stays with us through the turn. The engine roar is louder, closer. Then the sound I've been waiting for. Gunfire. Not from us, from him. The back window explodes, shards of glass raining over my lap. I duck instinctively, but the man beside me pushes me down, using his body as a shield. It doesn't help. The next shot takes the driver in the shoulder. The SUV jerks wildly, skidding into the ditch. Before the dust even settles, the driver's door is yanked open. Christoph, he doesn't say a word. He drags the driver out first, slamming him into the side of the SUV. The man beside me tries to raise his gun, but Christoph is already there, one hand wrenching his wrist until the weapon clatters to the floor. The sound he makes next isn't a word. It's the kind of low growl you hear from something that hunts for a living. He shoves the man out of the car, following him down into the ditch. I hear the thud of fists, the crack of bone. By the time Christoph reappears, his shirt is torn, his knuckles bloodied, and his eyes are wildfire. He yanks open the back door, cutting the zip tie around my wrists with a knife from his belt. "You're bleeding," he says, his voice rough. "It's nothing." I manage, my pulse still racing. His gaze rakes over me like he's checking for every possible injury. Only when he's satisfied does he take my hand. Not roughly, but firmly enough that I don't think about pulling away. "Get in the car," he says. We switch to his sedan, leaving the SUV and its unconscious cargo behind for his men to deal with. I'm still shaking when we pull onto the main road. For a few minutes, the only sound is the engine. Then I say, "You knew they'd try again." "Yes," he says, "and you didn't tell me." His jaw tightens. "If I'd told you, you would have spent every hour waiting for it to happen. Fear slows you down. Or it makes you ready," I snap. He glances at me, his expression unreadable. "You were ready. You fought, but they still took you out of my house. That's the part that won't happen again." Something in his voice makes me shiver, not from fear this time, but from the sheer certainty in it. When we reach the estate, the gates close behind us like a fortress ceiling. Christoph walks me inside himself, his hand still on mine until we're back in the East Wing. I stop just inside the suite. "You can't keep me here forever." His eyes lock on mine. "Forever's not the point, keeping you alive is. And what if I don't want to be kept?" He steps closer, his voice dropping. "Then you'd better find a way to stop me. But until you do, Khadija, you're mine to protect, whether you like it or not." I should tell him I hate him for it. I should mean it. But the image of him pulling me out of that SUV won't leave my head. And the worst part is, I'm not sure if I hate it as much as I should.
Chapter 17, Christoph. The blood on my hands is already drying, flaking at the knuckles where it cracked. It's not mine. I don't bother washing it off yet. I want her to see it when I tell her what comes next. Khadija's back in the East Wing, pacing the length of the suite like a caged cat. Her hair's a little tangled from the fight, her sweater torn at the shoulder. She looks unharmed. But the fact that she was out of my house, in their hands, even for minutes, it's enough to make something primal coil tighter inside me. I step inside and shut the door. "Sit down." She keeps pacing. "I'm fine, Christoph." "You were in their van," I say. "You're not fine." Her mouth opens, like she's ready to argue, but I don't give her the chance. I cross the room, catch her wrist, and guide her down into the armchair. She sits stiffly, glaring at me. "They came for you because they think you're a weakness," I say. "They think taking you is the fastest way to hurt me. They're wrong. But the longer you resist being mine, the more they'll believe it's true." Her eyes flash. "You think if I just roll over and play wife, they'll stop?" "No," I say, crouching in front of her. "I think if you stand beside me publicly, without fear, they'll see that taking you isn't just a way to get to me. It's a death sentence for them." She leans back, crossing her arms. "So what? I just smile for your men and pretend I want to be here." "No," my voice drops lower. "You stop pretending you're not already part of this. You are. Whether you chose it or not, you're in this war. And I'm done letting you think you can stand on the sidelines." She studies me, her gaze darting to the dried blood on my hands. "You killed them. Some of them," I say. "The rest will wish I had." She swallows, but her chin doesn't drop. "And what happens when they try again?" "That's what I came to tell you," I say. "It ends now. Tonight." Her brow furrows. "What does that mean?" "It means we're sealing this alliance the way it should have been done from the start. Not in a church. Not in front of your father. In front of the people who matter. The ones who need to see that you're untouchable." I stand and walk to the window, looking out over the dark gardens. Tomorrow night, I'm calling every captain, every man loyal to me, into the main hall. You'll be there beside me. And in front of them, I'm going to give you my final oath. She's silent for a long moment. Final oath. I turn back to her. Vows in our world don't live on paper. They live in blood. I'll make the promise, and I'll cut for it. So will you? Her eyes widen. You want me to? Yes, I say, stepping closer. Because when they see your blood mixed with mine, they'll know there's no separating us without spilling both. And the Volkovs will understand exactly what they're up against. She shakes her head, standing now. That's not a vow, Christoph. That's a chain. It's both, I say, my voice steady. And it's the only way to make sure no one tries to take you again without knowing they'll die for it. Her gaze locks with mine, searching for some hesitation, some opening to push back through. She won't find one. This isn't a request, I add. You'll be there. You'll take the cut. And when it's done, there won't be a man in my organization or outside it who'll dare touch you. And if I say no, I close the remaining distance between us. Then I'll take you into that hall anyway. And you can watch while I cut for you alone, and they'll know the blood wasn't shared because you refused it. And that will be the same as painting a target on your back. Her lips press into a tight line. You're not giving me a choice. You've had choices, I say. You ran. You hid. You fought. Now you stand. I reach up, brushing my fingers lightly against the chain at her neck. Tomorrow night, they'll see this and know it's not just a tracker. It's a mark. My mark. She doesn't pull away, but her breathing shifts, faster, shallower. This is war, Khadija, I murmur. And war doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about territory. And you. My fingers trail to her jaw, tilting her face up to mine. Are mine. For a long moment, she doesn't speak. Then, if I do this and they still come, they won't, I say, cutting her off. Not after they see what it costs. Her eyes narrow slightly, but she doesn't argue again. That's as close to agreement as I'm going to get tonight. I leave her in the suite with guards posted at the door. In the hall, Pavel is waiting. She'll do it, he asks. Yes. His mouth twitches. She'll see it as a surrender. I shake my head. She'll see it as survival. Later, she'll see it as something else. Back in my study, I pour a drink but don't touch it. My thoughts are already on tomorrow night. The ring of men watching, the blade, the blood, the silence when I speak the oath. When it's done, there won't be any doubt in anyone's mind. Not hers, not theirs, not the Volkovs. She's not the runaway bride. Anymore. She's the woman bound to me in a way no one can break. And if the Volkovs want to test that bond, I'll show them exactly how sharp it is.
Chapter 18. Khadija. The hall smells like cigar smoke, leather, and something sharper, anticipation. It's not just Christoph's men here tonight. There are faces I've never seen before, men in tailored suits with watchful eyes, some with heavy gold rings glinting on their fingers, others with subtle ink curling up their necks. Captains, lieutenants, men who've built and burned empires at Christoph's side, and all of them are looking at me. Christoph leads me through the crowd without touching me, but I feel the tether all the same. The chain at my neck is heavier than ever, not because of its weight, but because of the eyes it draws. The whispers follow us, low, assessing, some approving, some doubtful. I keep my chin up. If I let them see fear, they'll smell it, and if they smell it, Christoph's whole performance will crumble. We reach the center of the hall, where a long oak table has been cleared except for 2 items, a glass of vodka and a curved blade with a polished wooden handle. Christoph steps forward, his presence shifting the air. When he speaks, the room falls into silence. Brothers, he begins, his voice low but carrying. You've all seen what the Volkovs have done these past weeks. You know they've come for what's mine. A ripple moves through the crowd at that. My pulse picks up. They've failed, Christoph continues. They will keep failing, but tonight I take away their reason to try. Tonight I make it clear, to every man in this room and every man outside it, that Khadija Petrov is untouchable. He looks at me then, and for a moment the crowd disappears. It's just us. He picks up the blade, the metal catching the light. Vows are words, he says. Words can be broken, blood cannot. Without hesitation, he slices a clean line across his palm. The cut is deep enough to well instantly, dark red dripping onto the table. He turns to me. Your hand. Every instinct screams to refuse, to turn and walk out, to make my own statement. But every pair of eyes in the room is on me, waiting to see if I'll falter. If I do, the whispers will turn to doubt, and the doubt will be an invitation To the Volkovs, to anyone who thinks Kristoff can't hold what's his. I step forward. The blade is warm from his grip when he presses it into my hand. I don't give him the satisfaction of hesitation. I draw the edge across my palm in one sharp movement. The sting is immediate, bright, almost clean in its simplicity. Blood pools in my hand. Kristoff steps closer, extending his own. We press our palms together. The heat of it is startling, not just the physical warmth of his skin, but the way the gesture feels like a lock clicking into place. His fingers curl around mine, holding me there as the blood mingles, slick between us. Mine, he says quietly enough that only I hear it. He raises our joined hands so the whole room can see. From this night forward, there is no separating her from me without spilling both our blood. You take her, you take me, you harm her, you harm me, and you will pay the same price, death without mercy. The room answers as one, a low, resonant murmur of assent. Kristoff releases my hand, but his eyes stay on me for another beat, as if to drive the point home. Then he downs the vodka in one swallow and turns back to the crowd. Men approach us in small groups after that, some clasping Kristoff's shoulder, others nodding to me in what might be respect or simple acknowledgement of the ritual. I keep my expression neutral, my cut wrapped in a clean strip of linen one of the guards brought over. It isn't until the crowd begins to thin that Kristoff leans in. You didn't flinch. I glance at him. Would it have mattered if I had? Yes, he says simply. But you didn't, and now they know. When the last man leaves the hall, we walk back toward the east wing. The quiet between us isn't comfortable, but it isn't as sharp as before. I can still feel the echo of his hand on mine, the strange mix of revulsion and something else that I can't quite name. Inside the suite, I go straight to the sink, unwrapping the linen. The cut isn't deep, but it throbs in time with my pulse. Kristoff leans in the doorway, watching me rinse the blood away. You hate me a little less now, he says. I don't look at him. You think one ritual changes everything? No, he says, but it changes something, and that's enough. I wrap my hand in fresh gauze, tying it tight. And what happens now? Now, Kristoff says, the Volkovs have to decide whether they're willing to go to war with both of us. And if they are, he meets my gaze, his voice quiet but absolute. Then we burn them until there's nothing left to bury. The worst part? I believe him.
Chapter 19. Kristoff the Night after the blood vow is too quiet. That's how I know they're planning something. When the Volkovs go silent, it isn't surrender, it's a coil winding tighter before it snaps. My men are posted at every entrance, the cameras are monitored in shifts, and Pavel is running double intel through every contact we've got. Still, I feel it, an itch between my shoulders, the sense of being watched. By morning, Pavel confirms it. They hit our contact in Brighton, he says, stepping into my study. Shot him in his own kitchen. His wife, too. They leave a message? I ask. He nods grimly and tosses a sealed envelope onto my desk. I slit it open. Inside is a single photo, grainy black and white, taken through a scope. It's Katija, standing in the East Wing Gardens yesterday afternoon. Beneath it, a single line, 3 days. The muscles in my jaw lock. They got that close to my property? Yes, Pavel says. We swept the perimeter again. Found a spot in the North Treeline where someone camped overnight. No prints, no brass. Just a dead fire and cigarette ash. They're watching her, I say. He doesn't answer. He doesn't have to. I find her in the sitting room, curled in the armchair with a book in her lap. She looks up when I enter, but the faint relaxation in her shoulders vanishes when she sees my face. What happened? She asks. I cross the room, dropping the photo onto her lap. This was taken yesterday. She picks it up, frowning. It's me. Yes. Through a rifle scope. Her eyes widen, then narrow. You're telling me someone had a gun pointed at me? I'm telling you someone was close enough to take the shot, I say. And they didn't, which means they're playing a longer game. She sets the photo down, her hand lingering on it. 3 days for what? To try again, I say. She rises from the chair. Then we leave. Get out of the city, hide somewhere they won't look. No, I cut in. We don't run. We set the trap here. Her voice sharpens. You're using me as bait? I'm protecting you, I say. She laughs without humor. By keeping me where they already found me? I step closer, lowering my voice. If we move, they'll track us. And if they track us outside my walls, I can't guarantee the response time. Here, I control every doorway, every corridor, every line of fire. Here, they walk into my world. Her jaw works, but she doesn't argue further. That, more than anything, tells me she understands how bad this is. The next 2 days are a siege of preparation. Extra floodlights go up along the north perimeter. Motion sensors are doubled. Every entry point into the east wing is reinforced with magnetic locks and keypads. Pavel brings in 2 more men from our Brighton crew, quiet professionals who don't waste words. They'll be posted outside her suite at all times. I don't tell her that I'm sleeping in the next room now, not until she notices the closed door across the hall and asks. In case they get this far, I say simply, on the 3rd night, the trap is set. The estate is dim, the guards inside the hallways instead of out on the lawns, giving the appearance of fewer defenses. Khadija is in her suite with the lights low, just visible enough from the garden for a long-range scope to catch her silhouette through the window. I'm 2 rooms down, watching the monitors. Pavel's voice comes through the calm north tree-line. 2 figures, moving slow. Let them, I say. We track them as they cross the grass, hugging the shadows. They reach the outer wall and slip over it. Whoever they are, they've studied our layout. When they reach the east wing gardens, I move. The first one comes through the window. I'm already there, dragging him over the sill and slamming him to the floor. The second freezes, realizing too late that the silhouette in the armchair is nothing but a coat and a wig. Pavel tackles him from behind, wrenching the rifle from his hands. The first man fights harder than I expect. Trained, not just hired muscle. He gets 1 solid hit to my jaw before I twist his arm until it snaps. He goes down screaming. The second spits blood onto the tiles, glaring up at me. She'll die, he says in Russian. Not tonight, I answer, and bring my boot down hard. When both are secured, we drag them to the basement. There's no need for subtlety now. Every man in the house knows we've caught Volkov's hunters. Khadija appears in the doorway as we haul them past. Her eyes flick from their bound hands to my bloody knuckles. You caught them, she says. Yes. Her gaze lingers on the bruising at my jaw. And now? I meet her eyes. Now we find out how many more are coming. The interrogation starts within the hour. The smaller one talks first, mercenary, hired through 3 cutouts. Payment routed through offshore accounts tied to Volkov shell companies. The orders were simple. Wait for the right opportunity, kill her, leave the body. The bigger one holds out longer. But eventually, under enough pressure, he gives. Up something I wasn't expecting. They weren't going to kill her right away. They wanted to take her north. To their main house. For leverage? I ask. He shakes his head. For revenge. Your marriage took something they were promised. When I leave the basement, Khadija is waiting outside. She doesn't ask what I learned. She knows I'll tell her if I want her to know. Instead, she says, I'm not leaving this estate, am I? Not until they're all dead, I say. Her lips press together, but she nods once. Not agreement, exactly, acceptance. And I realize then that the blood vow wasn't the final oath. This is. Because after tonight, she's not just the runaway bride anymore. She's the woman they've declared war on. And I'm the man who will make them bleed for it.
Chapter 20, Khadija. It's the sound of glass breaking that wakes me. Not a cup dropped on the kitchen floor. Not a picture frame knocked off a wall. This is sharper, faster, shattered windows. I'm on my feet before my eyes have fully opened. My heart pounds in my ears as I grab the small knife Christoph insisted I keep under the pillow. It feels ridiculous, standing in the middle of my darkened suite with a blade no bigger than my hand. The second sound comes. A low, muffled pop, pop, pop. Not fireworks. Gunfire. The east wing door bursts open. 2 of Christoph's men rush in, one of them pressing a finger to his earpiece. We've got contact. Multiple hostiles in the main hall, he says in Russian. The other one looks at me. Stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but the boss. Before I can answer, they're gone. I move to the window, pulling the curtain back just enough to peek outside. The gardens are lit up like daylight under the floodlights, but shadows move between the hedges, too many of them. The Volkovs didn't send scouts this time. They sent an army. The hallway outside explodes in noise, shouts, boots pounding on marble, more gunfire. I back away from the door, my grip tightening on the knife. And then I hear it. Christoph's voice. Low, lethal, cutting through the chaos. He's barking orders, the kind that don't sound like orders so much as death sentences for anyone who disobeys. I take a step toward the door, then another. If I stay here, I'm a sitting target. If they breach this room, I'm cornered. I twist the lock and step into the hallway. Smoke hangs in the air, stinging my eyes. I follow the sound of the fight toward the main hall. Kristoff is there, moving through the fray like he was born in it. His shirt is torn, his jaw bruised, a thin line of blood cutting down the side of his neck. But his eyes, those sharp, cold eyes, are locked on the enemy. The Volkov men are pushing in hard, but they're meeting a wall, Kristoff's wall. And in that moment, I know he isn't keeping me here because he wants control. He's keeping me here because he knows exactly what's out there. A Volkov soldier breaks through the line on the left, heading straight for me. I don't think. I move. The knife goes into his side before he can raise his weapon. His eyes go wide, a grunt escaping his lips before he crumples. When I look up, Kristoff is watching me. Not with anger, not even with surprise, with pride. The fight is over faster than I expect. Kristoff's men cut down the last of the intruders in the hall, dragging the wounded toward the doors. The floor is slick with blood, the air heavy with the metallic tang of it. Kristoff strides toward me, his boots leaving dark prints on the marble. He stops close, close enough that I can smell the smoke in his clothes. "You didn't stay put," he says. "You didn't tell me to," I answer. His mouth curves, but it's not quite a smile. "You're bleeding." I glance down. There's a shallow cut on my forearm I hadn't noticed. It's nothing. He takes my arm gently, pressing his thumb near the wound. "You fought." "I wasn't going to wait for them to find me," I say. Something shifts in his eyes then, something I can't read. He releases my arm, but his hand stays close, like he's ready to grab me again if I try to step away. "This is the last time they come here," he says. "The Volkovs are finished. I'll make sure of it." I believe him, not because of his words, but because I've seen what he does to those who threaten what's his. And I realize, in the middle of the blood and smoke, that I'm not just what's his. I'm choosing to be. The captains gather before dawn. The bodies are gone, the floors scrubbed, but the air still feels charged. Kristoff stands at the head of the table, and for the first time I take the seat beside him without being told. "This war is over," he tells them. "The Volkov name dies with the last man who wore it into my city tonight." No one questions him. No one dares. When the meeting ends, he doesn't let me leave. His hand finds mine, rough and warm. "You didn't run," he says. "No, I admit." "Not this time." He studies me for a moment, then nods. "Good, because from here on we stand together. It isn't a request, but it doesn't feel like a command either. It feels like the truth." We walk out of the hall into the pale light of morning. The estate is quiet now, the gardens washed clean by dew. I look at the chain around my neck, then at the man beside me. The vow we made in blood wasn't the thing that bound me to him. This was, choosing to fight when I could have run, choosing him when I could have left. The runaway bride is gone, and in her place is the woman who will burn the world with Kristoff if anyone tries to take what's hers.
Epilogue. Kristoff 3 months later. The Volkov name is nothing but ash. I made sure of it. Every captain dead. Every safe house torched. Every man who ever raised a weapon toward Katija buried in unmarked ground. The city is quiet now, not because the violence is gone, but because every other crew knows where it will land if they test me. And yet, she's the thing they talk about most. The woman who stood in my hall, cut her palm, and took my blood into hers. The woman who fought beside me the night the Volkovs made their final mistake. They call her Bratva wife, Queen of the East Wing, the one you don't touch. I just call her mine. She's in the gardens now, kneeling among the roses. The chain still rests against her collarbone, the cut on her palm now a pale scar. Every time I see it, something inside me settles, because I know it means she stayed. Not because I kept her, because she chose it.
Katija, the roses are blooming again. Kristoff says it's because the soil's better this year. I know it's because no one's bled here since the night of the last fight. The estate feels different now. Still sharp, still dangerous, but steady in a way I didn't think possible. When I first came here, I counted exits. Now I count the ways he's kept me alive. He moves through the gardens toward me. His suit jacket unbuttoned, his tie loose. He looks like power in its most dangerous form, and for once that power is mine too. I rise to meet him, brushing dirt from my hands. "You're late," I say. "Business," he answers. Then his hand finds the small of my back. "Come inside. I want to show you something." Inside, in the study, a map lies spread across the desk. The pins are gone. Every Volkov territory is just blank space. It's done, he says, completely. I trace a finger across the empty section. And now? His eyes lock on mine. Now we live. It sounds so simple, and maybe, after everything, it is. I step into him, feeling the heat of his body, the steady beat of his heart. My husband, my protector, my equal in a world that doesn't forgive weakness. The runaway bride is gone. This is who I was always meant to be. His. That was the Bratva's Runaway Bride, a dark, dangerous love story where loyalty is sealed in blood. If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe for more addictive mafia romances, high-stakes passion, and stories that keep you breathless until the very last word.